Last time on the Pacifist Run. The quest to hit 60 in Classic Hardcore while PvP flagged the whole time continued. After almost fumbling the entire run to PvE content in Duskwood, more work in Stranglethorn was finished in front of an aghast onlooker. Heading to the wetlands, elite quests were wrapped up solo, with a couple of missed connections. Hanging out in Stormwind with Guildie Ishnu-Hello, our pleasant chat was followed up by returning to take down Eliza with some scrupulous new allies. Running upriver in Hillsbrad, Terran Mill lived up to its reputation, being a hot spot for Horde traffic. Nothing but nice things to say about our meetups though, including those had while clearing the Shimmering Flats. Helping out Guildie Illustrial and Desolus, most of the remaining quests were taken care of quietly. Some time is then spent in Dustswallow Marsh and Stranglethorn Vale, saving Stinky and trouncing trolls. Heading to the Alterac Mountains, failing to farm rarities leads to a friendship with the orc hunter, Zyrene. After sharing a story from my days playing vanilla, a return to South Shore brought me up close and personal with the level 60 troll mage, Cougar Life. With the fate of the run in their hands, they chose peace, allowing us to continue the story here in episode 5. Descending the mountains and crossing the field towards South Shore, there's some lowbie horde here, as there often are in this area, who are greeted warmly. The server is still quite horde favored at this point, so though these frequent encounters have PvP potential, I'll likely only touch on any meaningful interactions. Having turned in quests in town and then flown to Ironforge to complete another, a dwarf priest, Repti, spies my flag upon landing. They issue a well-received warning about it, earning their spot on the PAL list. With a teleport to Moonglade, the decision on how to spend my limited mount fund on new skills must be made. It's a little bittersweet as level 40 brings some powerful additions to the kit in Dire Bear form, Feline Grace, and Innervate, as well as some new ranks of core spells at a pricey bottom line. Holding off on some training to save cash, Skika Healer posts in guild chat asking for help in Redridge with the Null boss Yowler. Happy to oblige. Landing in Lakeshire, my dwarf priest friend meets me on the bridge and we head north into the canyons seeking the dog man's paw. After securing the kill, they thank me for the help and note the PvP flag. Dropping a new classic in hilarity, we say our goodbyes and see you laters before heading back to Stormwind. There, the Night Elf priest Woe Unto You thanks me for a buff. Having hearthed to Menethil, a run north of the harbor through the marsh brings me to the waters near Faldir's Cove. This cove is the temporary camp of some Blackwater pirates, and it serves as a nice little pocket of questing for around level 40. Just remember to bring your underwater breathing potions or sea lion transformation. Whatever is easier. Dealer's choice. Tasked by the captain with helping his crew, the jobs amount to gathering elven gems, dealing with the local fish people, and recovering some sunken documentation. These are handled easily enough, with aquatic form countering many of the deadly aspects of the net-casting enemies here. Aside from the expected company of some 40-something Horde players in Turlington and me like Mountain Dew, there's another danger in this area from an unexpected source. The rare mob, Prince Nazjak, spawns around these sunken ships and has a chance to drop a unique trinket, the Tidal Charm. Trinkets themselves are rare to come by, especially outside of the higher levels, and the charm itself has a powerful stun effect on use, making it coveted for survivability in hardcore and more. This desirability attracts all sorts, including the chance of level 60s looking to add the trinket to their dual arsenal. Hiding in stealth, a few days are spent parked in the waters here, logging in periodically to check for a lucky prince spawn. The hunt proves fruitless, however, so sights are set instead on a revisit to Scarlet Monastery to farm some mount money. En route to Tirisfal Glades, tragedy strikes. You never expect it to happen to you, but some things are just beyond your control. My level 57 paladin guildmate, unnamed Havoc, disconnects while fighting enemies in the western Plaguelands and dies. Server boss strikes again. Small indie company, by the way. Not to undercut their tragedy, but the timing is a bit poor for typing sympathies as my focus is more on crossing in front of Undercity safely. Still sad for you, bro. Approaching SM, there's a couple of Horde by the Meeting Stone, a Rogue, Kenthu, and Warrior, Flip once. No time to talk though, as there's grave robbing to be done. Once inside the graveyard section of the instance, the farm begins, scouting the guaranteed chest at the beginning before prowling deeper into the cemetery. The high-value green items begin piling up from the individual mobs and the unlocked chests. As there's nothing in the rulebook against drafts playing football, or more aptly selling items on the auction house, these quality goods will fetch a nice amount of coin. SMGY is at a sweet spot where headpieces and necklaces will drop, and these items will often be the earliest available to equip of their type, making them fast sellers to those looking to fill out their character sheets. Generally, when selling on the auction house, my tendency is to offer items at a reasonable price to move them fast, in the somewhat naive hope that they'll go to someone who will actually use them, without busting their budget. Here's some of the notable items for those that are curious. One of the resets yields an Iron Spine rare spawn, who drops his mace, and easy 89 silver when vendored. The next dungeon ID has an unlocked chest in the first room with 4 mobs guarding it. The enemies here are randomly set to be either Torturers or Scryers, with more of the latter being ideal. The Torturers have an Immolate proc on their melee hits, meaning that every smack has a small chance to deal a big bonus of fire damage. There's no internal cooldown or anything on this proc either, so there's a lot of caution required when dealing with them, as they can go from slapping like a wet noodle to melting your health bar with bad enough luck. 2 of each type here is manageable, as I can burst down one Torturer, while dancing in and out of line of sight to keep the Scryers ineffective. Then, doing the same to the other melee menace, that leaves the casters, which can be mostly LOS'd to dodge their shadow bolts. The chest rewards a 12-slot bag, not the best, but nothing to sneeze at. After completing the 5 resets allotted per hour, I deem the haul acceptable and hearth to sell things off in Ironforge. Checking on the guild roster, an active member, Wushu, is the right level and ideal class for one of the cloth headpieces that we acquired from the dungeoning. Offering it to them, they graciously accept once back from their AFK. Enjoy it, pal. One Griffin ride to Sentinel Hill later, Colonel Curzon is next on the hit list, hiding deep in his cave lair in northern STV. Delving into the compound, there's a troll rogue here, CNDD, Cloak and Dagger Dude, obviously, fighting the lesser of Curzon's henchmen. Keeping an eye on them, they're managing the mobs okay, eventually getting into a little trouble with a runner. As soon as a move is made to help them, Dagger Dude vanishes out of danger, to then more patiently work towards the bookie's chest. Attempting the sub-chiefs and hunters here myself results in similar aversions to continuing, killing them too slowly and taking too much damage. Ouch. Having escaped the cave, the nearby oil rig is run by Foreman Causal, whose key is gently requested to help liberate some boxed blueprints. Having ruined the Tiger King previously, it's the Panther Queen's time to shine, at least as a lovely pelt. Say cheese. With a demand for a large amount of troll tusks on the docket, the ruins to the south house the Skullsplitter tribe who will provide. There's already a 43 Tauren shaman here, Uarni, likely on the same quests. Not wanting to appear as competition, they're given a wide berth, letting them focus their elemental power elsewhere. Bumping into a level 42 Night Elf Hunter, Lunarem, they have a pet without a nickname, which is just why. Ugh. They don't acknowledge my greeting and have no heart, so it's 3 strikes, you're out of Bufftown. Something that's been left unmentioned about the Druid toolkit so far is the cat form ability, Track Humanoids. Being able to see players on the minimap radar can give me a heads up on potential danger more proactively than the Spy Scanner add-on. Noting a red dot moving erratically, I turn to see a level 45 Troll Hunter, Ticks and Leeches, targeting me immediately as they come into view. Really not enjoying just how fast they spotted and clicked on me, stealth mode is activated before they have a chance to potentially throw up a hunter's mark, removing the option. They don't end up antagonizing, so a palace spot is theirs. Elsewhere in the ruins, a level 40 mage Frosty Storm is here, but they pretty much ignore my helpin' hello. Rolling along with the Tuscan rating, a trio of a 44 mage, 41 shaman, and 42 rogue zip past without giving me a second look. Perversa, Numore, and Sequelina seem to be grouped together to take on the same trolls. Seeing them again later moving as a team mostly confirms my suspicions. Frosty Storm and Nee are also still around, making this a pretty contested spot. Sizing up a 3-pull, Who Are Nee walks into them suddenly, perhaps caught off guard. Jumping in to assist, the shaman does make short work of the mobs even with my help, both impressive and spooky. They don't react much, but they do give a little hop as they ride off, which could be their way of saying thanks. The usual suspects from earlier aren't seen again after this, though a 46 orc warrior, Amano, does ride by at one point. Completing the tusk task, the crystals of the goblin miners just south of here are next. Approaching the hilly mountainside, there's a 42 troll warrior already in combat with them, Carne Quattro. Observing them for a moment, they get an extra goblin patrol, giving me the opportunity to make an entrance, taking down the mob with them, and saying hello. They mostly seem unbothered at first, though as a few spare claw swipes are thrown onto their mobs here and there, they start to show some interest. At one point, a mob respawns on me while fighting another, and Carne Quattro charges in to help. Thanking my new pal, we continue to share the area together, taking down the Venture Company goons. It seems like Carne finishes his gem collecting here and waves goodbye before riding off. Stay safe out there, pal. Finishing the gems myself, crossing the road west brings me to the higher level basilisks and raptors. A level 39 shaman, DC 3-time, is here, presumably another victim of Blizzard servers. Passing them en route to the raptors, the 41 human paladin Frengens is here. They thank me for a buff and assist, but apologize for being unable to return the favor because of the flag. They're also unfortunately just done with the beasts, so they ride off after saying farewell. Having wrapped the raptors, Gorilla Guts are the next target, further south still. Fighting the apes here near Booty Bay, Track Humanoids is off, and the 46 undead warlock, Shaliford, makes me jump in my chair when they ride by nonchalantly. They're in the guild Baked, members of which we saw frequently last episode, who all seem to be chill. They hop as they ride away, signaling me not to worry, hopefully. Thank you kindly, bud. Almost munched by some sneaky kittens. The final giblets are required and the last bit of southern travel is had to the beach just outside of town. The objective here is in the center of the camp, so pulling a few pirates to the guards helps clear the way quickly, allowing collection of the Bloodsail correspondence. Turning in a bunch of things at the bay, the level 41 ding is just barely reached. A trip to the rebel camp is then made to empty the finished quests in the log, followed by hurthing back to Menethil Harbor. Sailing to Theramore, the next rank of bandage crafting is trained before running out into the marsh. Passing a 33 human priest, Cassandre, they make a move to return my buff, but are either too far or blocked by the PvP flag. Either way, the effort is recognized. Thanks, pal. Once at the border of the Barrens, the burnt-down inn is a crime scene to be investigated. Another detective is also here on the case, as Luxie, the 35 Torn Shaman, is running around. They don't really acknowledge my greeting, more of a lone wolf perhaps. Oh, there you go. Traveling over to Razorfen Crawl, a full horde group is just entering before me, consisting of Pigeon Eyes, Zesty Heels, Shadowteth, Bark Sniffer, and Doubleslit. Good luck in there, gang. Having never managed to find a group for RFK myself, the only real goal is to complete the main boss quest. There's not much loot to be had for Druid in this instance, though this ID somehow insanely includes both rare bosses, Earthcaller Helmgar and Blind Hunter. If you're a rogue or otherwise looking to solo farm the Blind Hunter for his bow drop, you can hop into this corner and it's almost always in range to detect or target the bat. There was a time on the old hardcore server, Bloodsail Buccaneers, where I killed Blind Hunter solo on my rogue 14 times. It must have been 6 necklaces and 8 shoulders before a single Nightstalker bow dropped, consistent with my boulder pad's luck anyway. As a cruel joke to cap off the story, this Blind Hunter drops the bow on the first try. Oh well, 50 silver at least. The chest behind him also has a nice green Staff of the Monkey, which replaces my old mace. Upgrade. Entering Chargala Razorflank's lair, it's a battle of attrition as she doesn't do much damage but has a short divine protection bubble along with a renew to heal. Druid's sustain prevails however, and the crone is defeated. The dying elf below gives a quest to find and return his necklace to his soon-to-be widow. Near the dungeon exit, the third enemy killed drops said pendant. Exiting the dungeon and riding the great lift down to Thousand Needles, Razorflank's medallion is given to the elf at Thalinar before returning to Theramore with the evidence from the Burnt Inn. A griffin takes me to Gadgetzan, where the spy add-on starts going off like a fire alarm. Just another Tuesday for flagged folk in a neutral town. Running through the hills to the Shimmering Flats, there's a 31 orc warrior, Corsaw, to greet. Once he processes the interaction, he gives a little hop to get on the pal list. Delivering the blueprints, sights are set east to check and see if a rare basilisk, Iron Eye the Invincible, is up. They can drop a unique sword, the Blade of the Basilisk, that would likely sell for a nice chunk. Despite being a much more bulky and armored enemy compared to normal, Iron Eye can be kited infinitely at the nearby racetrack bleachers if need be. No need to test my mettle today as they are not around. Landing in Darnassus after a Moonglade teleport, the pendant is returned to the grieving elf, leaving her to sob and weep. Wish she could Hearthstone out of awkward situations in real life. Traversing the wetlands back to Faldir's Cove, the letter is delivered to the captain, prompting an ambush. The ship's cannon makes easy work of defending the Sea Dog, rewarding a nice ring. Lounging in Deepwater Tavern, a dwarf rogue, Stackadolla, thanks me for some buffs. Despite being on a break, there's a commotion outside. Checking out reveals a 32 human warrior, Frankelia, taking on Slim and his friend. They manage with retaliation, but still thank me for the buffs and healing up. Word in the chat is that another Onyxia buff is happening soon, so heading to Stormwind, some superior healing potions are purchased from the auction house in the meantime. This caliber of potion is the highest available at normal vendors, and so will be the highest level I'm allowing purchase of from the auction house. While waiting for the buff to drop, a paladin named Arthas runs around telling everyone to PvP flag. Way ahead of you, bud. Once buffed, including a stop-in at the cathedral to drop the RFD quest and pick it up again, a flight to South Shore brings me closer to the intended targets of this buff's effect, battling Crushridge warmongers. Zooming north to the ruins of Alterac, the elite ogre beatdown begins, needing to bash 15 of them. They smack pretty hard, so rooting, kiting, and healing is pretty much necessary in every one-on-one combat. Slowly but surely, the warmongers are taken out, along with a named mage, Grelbor the Miser, for his pretty tiara. The last ogre resists and heartbeats a few roots in a row, leading to a close call at the finish line. Not this time, chump. Packing up to head out, a 40 troll hunter, Stoshetta, is here taking on the elites herself. Helping them with a pull doesn't elicit any reaction from them, so see you later. Heading out to pack up, a 38 troll hunter, Fual, is here, taking on the Yetis. Helping them with a pull doesn't elicit any reaction from them, so see you later. Whoa, deja vu. Back in South Shore, a 44 gnome mage, Biebo, thanks me for some buffs. Having had a nice cloth hat of the eagle drop a little while ago, the headpiece is sent to a freshly level 27 mage in the guild, Man-Wizard, who expressed interest in it after I posted some blues and greens up for donation on the Kindred Discord. Their later message of gratitude earns them a spot on the PAL list. Visiting the neighboring Arathi Highlands, the assault on Northfold Manor is started, spying a 39 orc warlock, Coog, in the sunken farm area. There's a 34 undead mage, Glitch, here as well, doing their own thing. Around the far edge of the property, Coog comes into view again and targets me, likely noting the flagged weirdo. They're then jumped by a stealth mob, so that's my cue to disengage their interest. They don't show up again as an antagonist, putting them in line for a PAL-less spot. Glitch ends up pulling a couple, affording me a PAL-making opportunity. Chomping the mobs, they salute me in thanks. No worries, bud. While questing here, a 34 undead priest, Blairge, has been hanging around. They seem to be avoiding me though, and right as the syndicate hit list is crossed off, they get a bit of a jump scare, bumping into me around a corner. A brief stop-in at Refuge Point is followed by checking for Nimar the Slayer while slaying his Witherbark brethren ourselves. No Mar here though, just a level 51 troll hunter named Caitlin running by while I'm typing in guild chat. Luckily, compulsive stealthing pays off and they don't notice me. Gathering all the troll objects, a return to Refuge looms ahead. Along the way, a level 21 human paladin, Shifty Bay, asks in general chat for an escort to Hillsbrad. Donning our Boy Scout sash, help is offered to them, which they kindly accept. Meeting just outside the point, we begin our journey together west along the road. Using Soothe Animal to deter some of the local wildlife from attacking Shifty, they're impressed with my remembrance of this spell. Though it only seems appropriate that this character uses an ability that invokes calmness and peace. Definitely on brand. As we pass Thoradin's wall, we're about to part ways when I remember that the Forsaken Courier has an envelope needed for a quest. The courier should be just a bit further down the road, so we end up sticking together for a bit longer. Shifty reveals their intention in coming here, seeking safe entry into Shadowfang Keep, looking to acquire the final portion of their class quest for Varrigan's Fist, the young paladin's signature weapon. They need to retrieve a smithing hammer from early in the dungeon, which shouldn't take too long. Offering to run them through to that point, they express surprised gratitude and accept. They have another friend waiting in South Shore on the same quest, a level 25 human paladin named Norgal, and they join their team as we start our run over to the keep. Entering the dungeon, Norgal and Shifty thank me again, noting that they won't be able to heal me with my PvP flag on. It's no problem as we smoothly clear our way to the stables, where the hammer sits idly on a crate. We then clear to Baron Silverlane as well, hoping he might drop his ring for one of my new compatriots. No luck however, so we end up saying our final goodbyes and thanks before parting ways by Hearthstone. Grats on the hammers. Meeting Kay and Kinalori by Goshek Farm back in Arathi, the courier's letter is handed in, prompting an escort quest to ransack the apothecary's house. Kinalori is one of those more competent escort NPCs, helping to survive the orc ambushes along the way by tanking in bear form and healing you both with rejuvenation. To top it off, Kinalori even runs back to the turn-in with you instead of sauntering slowly. If NPCs could make the PAL list, she'd be on it. Successfully reuniting Kinalori and her roommate, Kay, a stop-in is made at the nearby Ogre Mound to retrieve Trelane's wand. This chains to seeking some of the elites in Stromgarde Keep's outdoor areas. Leaving the valley, a 41 Tauren druid, Dorito, is parked on the road. Greeting them, they turn to look at me, likely processing the PvP flag that they're seeing. They begin to follow and hop, so I turn around to see what's up. We wave at each other and sit for a moment before the power of Dorito's moo blasts me off down the road. See you later, my nacho muchacho. Climbing up onto the bridge over the main entryway to Stromgarde, a scroll shopping trip is made before seeing a level 40 Horde priest and warlock run down to the elite ogre portion. Collecting the badges from the syndicate first should give them enough time to clear out, so that our upcoming ogre battles are uncontested. Ascending to the upper level, a couple of 38 Horde, an undead rogue, Bag of Bones, and druid, Jack the Cat, are here. Though it seems they're about done as they start to head out, but aggro a stealth elite. Thornenpaw, a 32 Night Elf Druid, appears over the combat and casts a Moonfire to help out. The Hordes cheer Thornenpaw, and would you look at that, we got to spy on a wholesome interaction. Honorary pal list spots for everyone. Reclaiming the badges and taking out conspirator Mara's cowl. Transit to the ogre-controlled area is quiet, allowing me to pick off around 5 shaman before finding the one holding the Azura gate. Job's done. Exiting to the road, a 42 undead priest, Melsto, targets me but doesn't try anything. Chill enough. Turning in the elite quests, followed by a stop in South Shore, quest completions give me the level 42 ding. While distracted in the inn, N-Dubes buffs me. Good thing I caught this pal on the footage rewatch. Thanks. Not wanting to incur the expensive costs, training in Moonglade is pretty selective this time, as obtaining a mount is just a few gold away. Voyaging to Stormwind after a hearth, there's a lot of mass disconnects happening all across the server, including twice to me while in flight. Some people are thinking it to be related to the guilds pushing for world firsts on retail WoW, resulting in collateral damage from DDoS attacks. Staying safe around town for now, a dwarf paladin, Magnus Carl, whispers me that I'm flagged. Hitting them with the classic, their concern is appreciated despite my flippancy. Seeing guildies in chat discussing the connection meltdown, we grouped together to hang out and chat a bit. Partied up with Azure Claw and Cazador, they note the PvP flag. Assuring they're safe and that Horde are generally nice, we talk a bit until another disconnect ends this play session. Later, pals. Relogging the next day, server stability seems to have returned. A hearth and a boat ride lets me swim over Dustwallow Bay to nab the lost booster from the Zeppelin wreck. Then flying to Nigel's Point, the road taken south leads to Feralis and Feathermoon Stronghold, my next destination. Traversing the road near Manorock Coven, a 46 orc warlock, Tazginkos, rides up. Saying hello, they give me a hug and gallop away. Thanks, pal. Sticking to the road through northern Feralis, the higher level enemies around don't bother me, and the dock to Feathermoon is reached without issue. No patience for the boat, aquatic form lets me swim to the shores of Feathermoon Stronghold, grabbing the flight path and a handful of quests. The short back and forth chain on the beach gives a good amount of gold, rewarding just enough cash that I should now be able to afford a mount and riding skill. While around town, a level 60 druid, Runic, tells me to get rid of that flag. No chance, pal, but appreciate the concern. Teleporting to Moonglade to fly to Darnassus, the big purchase is finally made, the reins of the striped Nightsaber, only a couple of levels late. Now being fast as our peers, it's one more potential escape tool from danger in our pocket. One I honestly didn't think I'd live to see. Making it to 40 and buying your first mount is a big win in hardcore. Showing off the mount in Stormwind while waiting for an Onyxia buff, the drop is followed up with a taxi to Sentinel Hill. Heading downriver to visit STV again, there's... oh, hello. Another druid, Papieto, passes by like a ship in the night. On the way over to face the goblin Gazban, buffing and healing Cinco de Juba prompts them to ask what's up. They're asking to team up for an earlier part of the Curzon quest, but sadly I'm already on the last step, Curzon himself. They warn me of the strength of the hunters in the cave, the very hunters that were deemed too scary earlier in this episode. Validating their concern, they're thanked for their advisement. Defeating Gazban wraps the quest for this part of the jungle, and I realize I've been running around in travel form still, not used to having a mount yet. There's a stark reminder while heading to Curzon's compound, when the 42 undead mage, Over, rides up. Greeting them, they target me and turn around in curiosity, so a wiggle of friendship is performed. Then another friend appears from behind, a 44 undead warlock named Ravi. They seem to be heading to Gromgal and are not looking for a fight. Mounting up like them, riding off eastward brings me to the villain's den. Clearing some space deep in the cave, the forces are whittled down to just Curzon and one sub-chief. Taking out the ad first, the colonel just can't stand up to the beefiness of dire bear form. Bringing his severed head to the rebel camp finally wraps up the chain. Returning to Central STV, A few blue basilisks that were avoided earlier are killed in hopes of a rare trinket drop, the cold basilisk eye. Not great on druid, but it's better than nothing. Looping around behind the nearby arena, the elite raptor Tethys is found here and engaged. He definitely hits hard and requires a few shapeshifts to heal and change gears. Using some mixed combat between the three forms, the raptor falls, talon taken. Walking the beach brings me to some pirates outside of Booty Bay, who are dealt with before entering the city. Rounding up some quests, the next aim is to take the Achilles reeds from the fishermen just outside of town. While fighting here, a human warrior named Supa Commando shares the space with me. A few minutes in, he realizes I'm flagged and calls me by my apparent nickname. Cheers, pal. A little later, a 43 orc warrior, Regenia, is seen on the beach, so I give them a little wave. It's not clear if they really processed what they saw, but a bit after, Regenia comes to say hello in her own special way. Easy, tiger. Okay, bye. All reeds having been collected, it's back to BB before working towards the southernmost beach of the zone. We're tasked to defeat swashbucklers, collect charts and orders, pick up an eyeball and an 8-ball. While here, a 44 dwarf hunter in Gurmerson thanks me for some buffs. Progressing the pirate punishment, a 48 troll shaman totem botmon appears in the distance. Giving them some space for now, it's unclear yet if this small questing area will be shareable peacefully. I end up jumping in to help them with a mob when they're lower health and out of mana, an ideal time to gauge a reaction. They in fact give a non-reaction, which eases my paranoia level about them. Seeing they overpulled the camp area and ran away to reset, I give a wiggle of friendship, trying to indicate I'll help them clear, starting in on a nearby warlock. They seem to understand, as they throw an earth shock at the caster. Waiting to see their approach, it turns out to be Rambo mode, as Totembot runs right into the center of the tents, pulling a bunch of warlocks and succubi. I can only watch, as running in would definitely make the aggro issues worse with my lower level. While he is melting their health bars, they're also chain pulling and have their pet demons whipping away. It adds up quickly and he ends up getting overwhelmed. The only thing I can think to do is root some of the melee hitters so they don't daze him. Chaining my root cast to put space between Totembot and the enemies, he just barely manages to escape at 6% health. Holy cow, don't scare me like that, dude. Totembotmon shows his gratitude by blowing me a kiss. Finishing the swashbucklers, I pass my new pal and wave goodbye, and behind me in the distance, Totembot waves back. Glad you're still with us. I think that marks as good a time as any to wrap up this installment of the Pacifist Run. A near-death experience like that needs a little cooldown period, even if it wasn't our life on the line. Let's cap off this episode with our Pacifist MVPs, most valuable pals. The Alliance MVPs are going to be Cazador and Azureclaw, my guildies who sought community in an uncertain time. Grouping up, we mourned those lost to the disconnect together and were grateful for our own survival. The Horde MVP or MVPs this episode are Carne Quattro and Totem Botman. Carne Quattro kindly shared the goblin mining area, and we watched out for each other among the tightly packed mobs. Totem Botman collaborated with me in taking out the Bloodsail pirates, even though his bravado almost cost him his life. Despite the scare, the gratitude was still appreciated. Shout out to all the MVPs. So big thanks to everyone for watching. I was really happy with episode 4's reception. It was really nice to see some new subs and commenters posting, so one more time for those who chose to join in, thank you. As we have more Horde encounters and stakes get ever higher with increased levels, I feel like intrigue can only build. I hope you all are enjoying the series so far, and are as excited as I am for the next video. Consider subscribing to follow the series as new episodes are released. For now, good luck out there, and stay safe.